Okay, we're getting back on the 65 motor here. Get the coverings off. So we're getting ready to put the cylinders and stuff on here. So I got some new pistons for it here. I updated to newer style coated pistons. So these are the newer style that come out these days. So these are 8.5 to 1 compression. We're doing 30 over into this motor. So we've got a new set of cast rings right here. We're going to use those Hastings. So we'll go ahead and get this thing ready to go together. So we got to go ahead and check the ring gaps on it. See what we got. Looks like these are using spiral locks on here instead of circlip style. Yeah. Just hard to get them apart. They're hard to get. Yep, circlip style. I mean, circlip, excuse me, spiral lock style. Circlip is C style, like this. These are full circle round, so it's spiral lock. They spiral on in there. These are harder to get out, but I think they hold in better. Shut up. But they all fail if you got a bad crank. So you gotta make sure you don't mix any of this stuff up now. I would never mix up my rings. But in case you do, if you look at the rings, they're different between top and second. So this is a cast ring set, so they're both cast iron. There's no moly in them. If they're a moly ring, they have a moly coating in here. It's actually a U-groove cutting or fillet full of moly type material. It's not chrome on it like everybody says. It's just a mullion and sulfite material. Different type moly. But anyway, the second ring is always got a little dot on it usually. On Hastings they always do. And they also have a back cut on them. So if you look at the profile of the ring, there's a 45-degree chamfer on one side and square cut on the other. And that makes the ring twist like this in the bore, so it digs the edge in so it scrapes the oil off better. Back a little further. So it twists the ring like this pattern, so basically like a ball spear shape. And it'll scrape the cylinder wall. Because the second ring doesn't really hold back compression, it scrapes the extra oil off the cylinder. Doesn't matter what they call it. Top rings, most of the time, they are square cut. So when you look at the ring profile, they're square. There's no double sharp edges, no back cutting, no nothing. So when you compress this ring, it just goes equal in and out. It doesn't have any beveling effect going on. Oil rings have an expander, basically a big spring, and real thin rails, so they're very flexible. They'll follow the bore unevenly, and the expander puts tension on them to keep them out there against the cylinder wall. And they're chrome face rings, so they wear a real long time. I prefer chrome rings over moly rings, but most people don't like them these days. But so anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to check our end gap. So basically you put them in the bore, and if it has a gap that's this big, that's too much. If it's overlaps, it's too small, that's not enough. You want something just about right. So oil rings you need to check them 2 at a time without a problem. Yeah, they got a massive amount of gap. Oh yeah. Don't have to worry about them being too tight. We got a good 30 thou gap in the damn thing. Okay, in the top ring, and the way you put these in, a little closer here to see better. Try to get a top view here. Okay, so very important, this ring here is you don't twist it like this, it bends it. These little thin steel rings, you can do that quite a bit, it doesn't really affect them. These ones here, you do that, it stays permanently tweaked like that, and then it won't seal compression at all. It'll leak oil like crazy. So what you want to do is you want to compress it with your fingers like this as you put it in the bore. It just slips in. Then you push in both fingers, one each side of the ring, like that, and you pull up the center. And then if you want, you can take the piston, as long as it's full round like this, you come around and push it in, like that. And now you can see the ring gap right there. So easily, if this goes in there, you're good. It's my 6-inch scale. It's pretty good clearance. These are 15, 16 thou thick. You usually want to run at least 18 thou, a safe minimum. Just about for any ring. 16, you can get away with it. The hotter the motor runs in temperature overall, the more gap you need. So if you got a commuter bike that's stuck in traffic all the time, you better have a lot of ring gap. If you run out of ring gap, what happens is the ring quits sealing, and you start getting a lot of blow-by, a lot of oil consumption. Causes more overheating issues with the parts of the motor and gets more problems. So there we go, we got a good gap. Now when you pull them up, if you pull them up like this, you might twist it, one ring more than the other, and it bends the ring. If you come up on the back side, just pull with one finger, pull out. You're not going to bend this part of the ring by doing that. So you just have to think what you're doing when you do stuff. So stick them in like that, like that. Set them up. Take your little checking device. This one has a little bit more on this one. There you go. Now, new thinking on ring gap is you want more ring gap on the second ring than the first ring, which is the top ring. In the old days, it used to be equal or a little bit tighter on the second ring. So these days, these are pretty much equal. But the theory behind that is that if the combustion pressure blows past the first ring, it starts to pressurize the second ring, and it puts pressure in between the two ring lands right here, and it'll make the second ring not do its job, which is basically scraping the crap off the cylinder. So it kind of unloads this ring and makes it not work. And it also puts pressure on the back side of the top ring, which makes it not seal even more, so it blows even more. A ring seals against the bottom of the groove. The compression pressure pushes it down and seals against the ring. If you have pressure on the back side pushing back, it defeats the purpose of sealing, so that's why you do that. Now the other trick they do, like on this piston, you can see they got a secondary groove stuck in here on the second ring land here. That's the margin between the two ring grooves. And that gives a place for the compression gases to get in there when they leak by and not put pressure on that top ring from the back side or the second ring. So they found out that helps eliminate some of the blow-by problems. So different theories over different years, but those are the newest theories they're running. That's been around for about 20 years now. Okay, so our rings all check out good. I don't know why this thing looks too close. So now we go ahead and put it together a little bit further. So get that away. Now the cylinders have already been all cleaned out. See how they're nice and shiny and glazy? You want to see a nice shiny cylinder because that tells you it's clean. If it's real dull looking, it's probably dirty, or it's got a real rough finish to it. Either way, I don't like them. This one here has been plateau honed. That means the tops of the scuff marks have been honed off. So it's like taking a mountaintop and flattening the peak off so you can put a house on it. Gives you a spot to be smooth. That makes the cylinder real smooth. Makes the rings work a little better, and it gives you more horsepower. A rough ass finish will eventually break into that, but it takes a long time. Okay, so the next thing I do is put the snap rings in here in the hole, which in this case is spiral locks. And you got to figure out which side is which. Now this here mark here, I don't remember if that's right or left. And they have the same markings over here. If you look in the books, they might tell you. On a Harley, they're centered, so it doesn't really matter which way it goes. On some application, that might be a left or right offset. It would make a difference. So as I recall, it used to be on the valve sides what these used to be on. But maybe it's supposed to be on spark plug side. Who knows? I don't really care. Doesn't make any difference on these bikes. But Now to put the spiral lock in it, what I do is I open it up a little bit like that. Now I don't bend it open, I just flex it open with my fingernail like that. We go ahead and get this first part of the ring to fit in there, and then we got to get it over center by pushing out a small screwdriver. And once you get over center, then you just wrap it all the way around, it goes in. So I usually like working from the left side of the bike when I put pistons in, so I'm going to put the snap ring on the right side. That's what I'm going to do here. So I get it in there like that. Just try to compress it a little bit and get it in. It popped off my finger, so it's probably going to go in now. Nope. So I got to do it some more. Now remember, if you take the whole thing and bend it so it stays open, by bending it too much, then it can pop out. So that's why you don't want to do that. It makes it easier to put together, but it has a problem down the road. It's called the motor blows up. Okay, see, once you get it over center, you can start pushing all the way in. Now, right now I'm past the groove, but that's okay for now. Okay, once I get almost all the way around, I'll go ahead and pull that part back up to get it in the groove. There it goes, pops in the groove. Now you could have also taken a wrist pin. I've already honed these so the wrist pins flip in nice and easy. See, you go in there like that and pop it in. You could have used the wrist pin. Okay, now that we're about halfway around, or we're about one full circle in, we gotta go another circle around to get all the way in. So now we just roll all the way around with a screwdriver. Just go around the face like this, just knock it in. See how the little tit's still out right there? There, pop, it went in. Okay, so now it looks like it's all the way in there. Gotta make sure it's in there. So what I do is I take with my round part of my screwdriver and wrap it around the hole like that, push it up in there, make sure it's all up in there. And then I look at it real closely and make sure it looks like it's completely in the groove, which means you only see about half the snap ring sticking out. If you see one side of the snap ring is up higher than the other half, whoop, you know, instead of being flat like this, then that means it's sticking up in the air. You gotta get them both to being flat. So you look at it, see how both sides of the snap ring are equal height. That's what you're looking for. And the last thing you do is just put the wrist pin in there and make sure it's in there. It should have a nice thump to it when it hits. When you hit it, hear it. Should sound fairly even when it hits. That's what you want to be. Now when you put it in from this side, you just push it until it hits the wrist pin and pop it around. It goes in pretty quick. You know, it's solid. Putting the piston on the bike's easier. And the other way. Okay, now we're going to do the other one here. Do it the same way. Now they do have compression tools for doing this easier, but see my damn finger's getting in the way of doing it. It's biting me too much. It's hard to do this on camera where you got trying to hold stuff. Doing it like you normally do it every day. It's all about placement. Okay, this time here I'm almost 3/4 of the way around, but it's not in the groove. This time we're going to use the wrist pin to poke it in. Here, pop in. The groove, put it in there by pushing on it. Okay, now I got to spin it in the rest of the way because it's not even a full circle around yet. You got to be careful because it can pop up and hit you. So fly across the room, do all kinds of nice stuff. Pop. Okay. Looks like it's in there pretty good all the way around. Do the sound test. Sounds good. Yeah, looks good. We're good. Okay, so now the clip is on the one side. The next thing is we're going to put the piston rings on the piston. First thing you do, you put the ring expander in there. And the ring gap's right here. I like putting the gap right here on the side of the wrist pin. Right there. I hold it with my one finger. Then I take an O-ring. So you take this and these you wrap them. So I put it on the other side of the wrist pin. So one gap is here, the other gap's where my thumb is here. You go across this part here first so it doesn't overlap. The spring won't overlap. These aren't too bad, but other rings it makes a big difference. They like to overwrap. Okay, you see how the ring's across the top of the dome? So you just take it and put it over a little bit with your thumb, and it just kind of rolls on into the piston. Okay, right here I don't want to scrape it down the side of the piston, so I come over here, put my thumbnail under it right there, pull up, bring it down, drop it into the hole, and it's on the bottom of the ring expander. Okay, that one's in. Then grab another one, do the same thing. So right now the ring gap is right here, right where this finger is. So I want to go 180 over. So it's on this side of the piston. I go to this side over here, put the ring in it, push on your fingers like that, kind of roll it around the top of the other finger as you're pushing on this finger. Doing two things. When you get to this point, same deal. I want to pick it up and bring it down, drop it in the right spot. Boom, you're in there. And then you want to make sure it's nice and free, spinning like this, no drag. If you have drag on it, you have a bent ring, or it's not in right. Okay, the second ring has a little dimple on it. That goes up. Now these you do not wrap. What you do is you put your thumbs in here like that, your forefingers up here. You pull it open like this, and you take the index fingers and push it down over the piston. And you put this on top of the end of the ring land like this, as you spread it. So, make sure you're getting the right groove. Okay, so now I'm going to spread with my thumbs, push down my index finger as I'm opening it, and you shove it down. See, I'm opening on this side with my thumbs, pushing on the fingers there. Now once you get about to this far, you can take your thumbs and just kind of push it around. Hear it? And it goes around over the top. A little bit further, it drops right in. Same deal, you want to make sure the ring is free, spinning, there's no drag on it. If there's any drag on the piston ring, it will not work. Okay, the top ring does not have anything. And you can double check by looking at the cross section, make sure it's square section. It is, sharp edges all the way around, we're golden. So this doesn't matter which way it goes up. Now if you see any kind of marking, sizing or anything on it, put that up. If there's no marking, it doesn't matter. Okay, this one you do it the same way. You put it in the groove right here where you want it to be. Okay, I'm on the groove. Spread and push at the same time. Boom, it's right on. Nice and free. Okay, now you gotta look for your gap. Okay, here's our gap here. So we got one gap here, one gap over here on this side of the piston. So the next gaps are gonna go 90 degrees from these two. These gaps here, and one gap on this side, which we already got one ring sitting there. The other ring we take it and spin it 180 to the other side. And now our gaps are all 90 degrees apart from each other. Make sure it's free on the piston too. Nice and free. So that piston's ready to go into a hole now. Okay, now we do the next one. I'll blow it up a little closer here so you can kind of see my fingers a little better. So same deal, put that one on. Come over here. Okay, we can see it better. Wrap it around, see how the oil ring is the spring is trying to get out. Where I can see it. See how this one's poking out right now when I push with my finger over here. See how the ring is sticking way out? That's why you want to make sure you get that pushed in right there first. Around like that. Too close. Alright, just wrap that thing around. There you go. Do the same thing on this one. Done. Okay, 2 rings left. Figure out the one with the dimple. There it is right there. That second. Through, spread. Take your thumb, kind of work it around evenly. Don't force it. It pops in. So just push lightly. If you have to force it, you're going to bend it. Back up, let it kind of recenter, hit it again. It'll probably pop right on like that. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, where's that ring gap at? Okay, it's right on that piston there. Top ring. Top ring. There we go. Now you want to make sure there's no ring gaps on your thrust faces or on the wrist pin faces. So it's on the 45 degrees, top and bottom. Okay, so that's that. Okay, now these gaskets here are the ones that I don't have to put any coating on them. These are James gaskets. They got it's a format material with kind of a glazed, semi-sticky surface to it, and then they got the silicone sealer on, which doesn't do squat. Easy, just pushes out. It's more for cosmetic to make it worth more. In the real world, it doesn't make any difference. Okay, so that's ready to go there. Need to get some oil. There's my silly lube. Okay, we get some oil to put in the crank. I always like putting oil in the crank down here. This one here is 25, 60. It could be 50 weight, 60 weight, 20, 50, 25. It doesn't matter. Just put a little bit of something in there to work with. You only need like a cup full at most in there. Just don't use a synthetic oil at this point. So you got to make sure your cases are completely sealed up. Once you put oil in it, it's going to want to leak out. So what I do is I pour the oil right on top of the connecting rod, which is sitting right here on top. So I pour it right on top of that, work the oil in real good like this by going back and forth. And I want to make sure the oil touches the flywheel, so you want to put enough oil in there to touch the flywheel. So let's take and pour it right on top. That's got to be enough. Do a little squirt right there. So now you can see what happened there. Kind of work it in a little bit. Both rods. Feels good. Spin the crank down. You should see some oil come up. See how the oil's coming up right there? So that means you got enough oil in there. So there's some oil in it. Wipe off any extra on the back of the beam in case you got on there. I'm going to put just a little bit more in there. I didn't quite have enough on the flywheel I wanted to see. So I'll give it a couple more ounces in there. And they're good again. Okay, crank is pre-lubed. Now as long as you turn the flywheel backwards, the oil will stay in there. If you turn it forward, normal direction rotation, the oil will blow over in the cam chest over there. I want the oil to stay in this area here for now. That way when you start the bike up, there'll be oil in there to splash up on the pistons and lubricate them instantly. So we just try to keep it that way as much as we can. Okay, move it out of the way. Okay, we need some base nuts. Okay, we're going to use these base nuts right here, chrome. These are Gardner Westcott ones. I pretty much use Gardner Westcott or Colony hardware. They're both good stuff. Most of the time, excuse me, the Gardner Westcott is a little bit cheaper than the Colony. So when you look at the hardware, see the chrome job isn't quite as good as the Colony stuff would be. But they're still decent. But they're good hardware. It's not all US made, but it's pretty good stuff. Most of it is probably. At least whatever you can still buy here. Okay, those are ready to go. Pistons are ready to go. Pistons are the same size, front and rear, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of oil on the top of the cylinder here, or in this case the bottom of the cylinder. And I put the piston in the cylinder and then I shove it down through the cylinder. And as I shove it through the oil, and that's right here, it will lubricate the whole cylinder all the way up to the top. So that's what I like to do. So I use my assembly lube here. I just put a little bit up in here, nothing serious. So you only go in this deep onto my fingers, all the deeper I'm going. I don't want a big dripping wet layer of oil in here, just enough to get it wet. So it's like that. You can see the oil level. The layer only goes in there about 1.5 inches. So the rings will more than coat the whole cylinder with that. So usually you get half the cylinder with that much, a few drops of oil. Just spread it around equally. Alright. Got that one. Now I lubricate the wrist pin bores and the piston. Same thing, put a little bit of oil in there. And get a little get oil in there, a little lubricant. So now it's got lube on it. And I do the other side, same way. Notice I'm not rotating the ring sets, they're already rotated. Just hold the piston how I want it to be. Alright, that's all lubed. Now I want to get the wrist pin bushings up in the motor. Up here. You don't want those to be dry on the startup, so get those lubricated also. Okay. And they're all lubed. Now the wrist pins will get lubed as you shove them through the piston and the bores there, so you don't have to lubricate these separate. The pistons don't have to be lubed, the first part, because it's already lubed in the cylinder. I don't lubricate the rings, I run them dry. And then when I get to the piston skirt, I put a little bit of oil on the piston skirt, only on the thrust faces, this side and this side. You don't have to worry about this, it doesn't hit over here. And then I shove them all the way down. Now I don't use ring compressors, I just put the rings in. So the way you do that is you have your hammer running by. One of these, plastic, you got soft and hard. And a little small screwdriver that's not too sharp. It can be this one or a medium, if you need it. Mainly I use my fingers and my fingernails. That's probably why they're all broken off. So basically what you do is you put, just like you'd put the ring on the piston, you put this side in the cylinder first, where the gap is. You hold the cylinder at an angle and you push over here and collapse the ring as you push the piston in, and it'll just drop in the bore easily. The top of your cylinder should have a chamfer up here. Now this one has a very, very low chamfer, so it's going to be a little harder to put together. These were standard bore into board 30 and they were never rechamfered, so makes it hard to do. This one over here, you can see it's got more of a chamfer on it, so this will be a lot easier to do. This one's going to be more difficult, so we'll do it first. Okay, we know this is on the push rod side, so you got to look at your cylinder where the push rod side is on a Harley, on a shovel head and panhead. This big hole is your oil drain back, which is on the left side of the motor, right here. And this thin area over here is your push rod. Also, the push rod cut out in the cylinder. The fins right here is cut out for push rods. This side over here is round all the way up. So this here is the non-push rod side. This is push rod side. So we rotate the cylinder with the push rod side, and you do that. So the piston goes in like this. Now you got to work right around this area here. See how the gap gets stuck in there? You do not want to be on that. So you want to rotate the stack just a little bit so the ring land is not going to hit on that. It makes it harder to put in when it does. So our gap is right here. So you just kind of push it in like that. I'm putting light pressure with my palm. You come over here and push the ring in, and we're in. First ring just went in, that simple. Okay, now you come over here. If you push on hard here, you'll break the ring. See how it sticks out? Okay, look for your ring gap. There's your ring gaps over here. Make sure that this comes above the top of the cylinder on this side. I'm going to have to tap up a little bit. Make sure this side will push all the way in like that. Then you go ahead and rock it a little bit. Collapse it. Collapse it. Oop, I went too far. Just push it down. So now that's all the way in. Now the oil ring already started going in. Same thing, the oil ring, you want the gap side to go in first. Okay, it's in. I'm going to press with my thumb right here and just tap with my palm lightly. Go back and forth, and it'll pop in. So now one ring's up, the other ring is in. This side's going to be next. Make sure this side's still out. See how it's still out a little bit? Tap it around. Now you can use your palm or you can use your hammer a little bit. Now you're hitting hard, you're just tapping. Here how it's hitting hard? That means it's not going in. That means the ring's bound out. Go over here, make sure that's above the surface, go back over here, push the ring in a little bit with your thumb. If you want to use a flat blade of your screwdriver, you can. Try not to use the tip. You can go like this and just push a little bit if you want. Okay. Now that ring land is in there right now. You just kind of work it around in a circle. Make sure you get across here this next gap. If it's hitting real hard like that, go on the other side. Here it just has a real dull hit when it goes in easy. If you start hitting hard, bang, 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 coming back, quit beating on it, you're just breaking the ring. Now you want to make sure that this side here, it can be above the cylinder or not, doesn't matter because it has a clip over here. This side here needs to be above the cylinder so you can put the wrist pin in it. Like that. Put it back on the center. Need to make sure I put the piston there a little bit so it doesn't pop out. See, the ring is this far down. The ring is pretty far down in the bore right now, so you're good. And we still have a gap right here, so the wrist pin will slide in and out easily. Or take the whole thing out, doesn't matter. Okay, I just leave it in there is what I do. Pushing until it's flush over here. You can't be that far, and you got to make it so you can at least get the rod through the center. Okay, that one's ready to go in the motor. Now this one's the rear cylinder, so it goes over here. Now I forgot to put some oil on the threads up here on the cylinder decks. I like all my hardware to have a little bit of oil in the threads so it'll start and go down easier. I don't use Loctite, I use Lubricating on my threads. I tighten the nuts really, really tight, so a little oil never hurt anything. Okay, now we already got the gasket here, so I don't have to deal with the gasket seal or anything. Okay, I just take this, flip it upside down because it ain't going to go anywhere. Put it over here on top of your rod. Up here, put the rod kind of in the center. Take your thumb and just rotate, or not rotate, push the wrist pin in the top of the rod a little bit. This isn't the way I usually do it, so I'm working backwards right now. So I usually use my right arm and do it like this, and I'm more used to it doing it this way. Okay. right when you got the wrist pin in there, it goes in, slides in easy because I already honed everything. Until I got that far for some reason. That's weird. What's up with that? Ah. There's some kind of a nick on the rod over there. It's not letting the wrist pin go through. That's weird. That doesn't usually happen. Especially since I've already rebuilt these. There's a little bit of a nick over there, I guess. Alright. See, there's something on the right. You go in there and fix it. Okay, now we try this again. Now the wrist pin goes all the way in there like it's supposed to. The cylinder will hang right there because we got enough engaged on the piston. It doesn't go anywhere. Okay, now I take a rag, preferably a cleaner one. I put it over the top of the cylinder spigot holes here. That way the snap ring doesn't go inside the motor if you lose it. Okay, this one, same thing. You got to bend it out a little bit, like this. You go ahead and put in the wrist pin. I take the screwdriver like this. Not sure if you're seeing what I'm trying to do there, but you want to get that one tang to start on the piston. You want to go into the groove and you just kind of push it in, collapse it, move it in around the groove. There it goes. Oop. Just popped out. I can't get a hold of it now. Just rotate it all the way around. You hear it pop in there a little bit. And always push back on the tang, make sure it's in there. Take the sharp part of the screwdriver and kind of roll around in a circle, make sure everything looks like it's in there good. Make sure it feels good. You take a look at it and make sure everything looks like it's supposed to be. Double, triple check, it doesn't matter. Check it 5 times, I don't care, just make sure it's good. If it's bad, it's going to come apart and you're not going to be happy. So spend an extra few seconds. It'll save you hours of work later. And lots of money. Okay, now we just lubricate the skirt a little bit. Hold my pistons right here. Wiggle the cylinder, it should just drop right down like that if you get a good finish. Line up over the holes, slip it on down. Okay, then you go ahead and put your nuts on there. Now nuts have a rough side, a smooth side. So if you want to look at the good part, put the good part up. If you want to look at the crappy side, put that side up. It's up to you. Yeah, the chrome on these is a little bit build-up on these. Around the other side, do the same thing. Now this one here, I can't put the nut in here because the fin is too close. Right here. So what I got to do is I got to lift the cylinder up a little bit. Get the nut started. Just like that. Same thing on this one. This one doesn't have any clearance issue, so let the cylinder drop back down. Okay, usually you want these just to spin on with your fingers, but if you don't tap and dial every damn hole, it doesn't always go down easy like that. Just takes a 5/8 wrench on these earlier nuts. There's a little bit of drag on it because of the chrome in the threads, so it takes a little effort. But you notice I'm not having to pry on it real hard. If you have to pry on it hard, take it back off and do what it takes to make it work right. It's another reason why I got oil on the threads. It pre-lubed them for this reason. You don't have a problem with binding up. These nuts are definitely lower quality than they used to be. Okay, I didn't go all the way down, I just got down close. This one here is going down by hand. Spin around the other way. I get to do the same thing to this one. Got one tight spot, and it gets loose, tight spot, loose. If you don't jam it into the cylinder very much, it won't take the paint off right now. Now I cut down the wrenches here to fit behind the backside, so you can put a full nut on there, beat on it, get it on there. Okay, so the cylinder is still loose, see, but it's all the way down. Okay, now you pull that up a little bit. If you can't move your cylinder that easy, then it's probably not a real fine finish on your bore. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on this cylinder. Same thing. Ring gaps on the back side. In. Ring gaps on this side. There we go. Top rings are in. Not quite low enough for you. Okay, look for the gap. One gap's here, so I know the other one's on this side. It's already in the bore over there. Switch over to this one here. And the ring gap came out on this side, so that's why it's so hard. There it goes. Okay, where's the other ring gap? Is all right. Here's the other ring gap, so get it in first. Just go back and forth on it. It's hitting a little bit hard. See, the whole ring came out on this side, that's why it's going so hard. Come back, start over here again. Pop it out a little bit. Okay, it's fighting me a little bit right now. Step up the force just a little bit to make it go in. Okay, here's our wrist pin. Okay, I'm going to put this one on the motor also. Hello, there it goes. This one went all the way, didn't have a nick on it. Same deal, you can let it hang there a little bit, it'll be fine. Cover up the hole again, just like before. So if you ever had to go fishing for clips, you understand why you gotta cover them up. Okay, we do the same thing on here. Find a spot where it's bent over at. Blow this up a little bit for you. Here, you might be able to see a little better maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, get it in there. Oop. These pistons have a real heavy overhang on them, which makes it hard to install these. Your meat of your thumb gets in the way when you're trying to shove it in. It gets a big chunk blister build up. Doesn't let it fall in. That's how they make these earlier pistons. Sportster pistons usually don't have that big lip on them, they go a lot easier. Anyway, just do a second try on it. Pop. Goes right in. Okay. Feels good. Looks good. Put oil on it. Excuse me. I think I'm allergic to Harleys. Or something else in the shop. Okay, get your lubricant on there. Okay, hold the base of the cylinder or piston. Just wiggle the cylinder a little bit. I'm not pushing, I'm just wiggling. The weight of the cylinder goes down. And you can push it a little bit with your hand. Okay, now you're at the point where you just kind of work it down over that. Try not to jam it into the studs, would be nice. You want to make sure you don't shear the gasket off also. Would be another bad thing to do. Okay, I'm going to leave a little loose case the studs. The nuts are a little high again. So right now the cylinder's about a 1/4 inch off the deck. So oh, come on. Keeps feeling like it's starting and it doesn't start. Yeah, screw it. We'll go on that one, stick it over there. Get the other one on. Let's see, that's the worst looking one. These have the grade 8 stampings on the nuts. Must be American made nuts. Okay, they're all started. Shove the cylinder down. These are all going on tight, so I gotta just use the wrench here to get them on there. Takes a while doing it this way. Okay. That's how you practice your wrench skills. See, I can do it without even looking at it. See, I can look at the camera and do the wrench. See? Practice. Okay, 2 more to go. People leave comments wanting me to use those stupid speed wrenches and stuff. The first problem is the speed wrench won't fit on most of these things on Harleys. The next thing is, what do I need the speed wrench for? I can do it just about as quick my own way. Because I know a speed wrench is a lot thicker than this, and look how much I cut that down. You just don't have rooms like cars do. Cars have more room. Okay, cylinder's still loose. Okay, now when you put these cylinders on, you got to make sure you rotate them the correct direction. So basically, am I blowing up or not? Okay. See, they got clearance to go back and forth. So you can put them anywhere in that spot when you tighten them. Now what you want to do is you want to have the intake manifold where it might line up the best. Now on a shovel head or an iron head motor, you pretty much just rotate them inward this way and this way. And that puts the manifold that's way up here, Y manifold, close together. On a panhead it's the opposite way because the manifold goes right here. If you go in or out, it makes it tighter or looser. I don't know how tight our manifold is. Most of the time they're fairly loose. So I'm going to just rotate it this way and this way here to make it tighter right here. Now once I go to put the heads on there, I'll see if I have to change that. If so, I loosen up the base nuts and let it float out a little bit. But for now I do it this direction. And not put a lot of pressure, just lightly put it that way. They're going to kind of want to self-center themselves when you tighten these nuts down. So you do that one there. You do this one over here. Just light torque. Then I go on the far side over here, I do a cross pattern. And I come back and pick the fourth one up over here that I just missed. Okay, now you can put your wrench on there. One pull, one pull, one pull, two pulls. Okay, now we do the same thing on this one. Cross it over. And get the other one. Okay. That on and give it a jerk and pull it up. Now I tend to jerk them real quick and hard. It gives them a little bit more torque for the same amount of pull. Things will pull in tighter if you give them a sudden jerk. Okay, now we got some torque on them. Okay, now we're going to have to steady pull them. There's that one. That one. That one. Change the angle so I can pull on it better. That way. Okay, I started back here, went all the way up that line, so I'm going to start here and go up all the way up that line. You shouldn't do everything in a circle. It's not, when you tighten in a circle like that, you can develop issues. It puts stresses in a different area than if you do it one side at a time. Okay, so you got a little bit of torque on there, nothing serious amounts. Now the motor stand just kind of lets the motor flop around, so I can't get a good torque. But this will allow me to get torque. It's called hammer torque. So you put a little pressure on with one hand and hit the hammer with the other side. So I'm hitting right here on the side of my wrench. You can see that's never been done before. See? That moves quite a bit, and you hit it about the same force each time. I already did this one. Maybe not. On the other side, we start on the inside, work our way out. So we'll do the same thing on this side. Now you listen to how much noise it makes. Kind of governs the torque. And also how much it moves each time you hit it. You're using the same amount of force, or you're stepping up the force, depending on how much torque you want. So it actually gives you a pretty accurate number if you're consistent with your blows. Okay, so now we're just going to put our final torques on it here. That feels pretty good. Good. It's good. You can hear how these blows are a little bit harder. You can also torque the head bolts the same way. See, that one moved a little bit, so give a little extra. See how that one doesn't want to move? It's already tight. It's pretty good. Last one. There you go. So that's called hammer torquing. Works pretty good actually. Now, after you get this in the bike and you start the bike up and heat cycle it 3 or 4 times, you come back and check your base nuts and make sure they're still tight. They are going to settle down a little bit. You usually do that a couple times before you get the customer the bike, because everything moves a little bit with heat. Okay, so we got the cylinders all here now. This piston's all the way up, the other one's not quite all the way up. Now we want to see if they spin over without any problems. So I got a tool here for turning the crank over. If you don't have something like this, which you probably don't, this is a K-Star tool. No number on it. Most people have a tool like this called a compensator nut. It does the same thing. You put it on there, you tighten it up, and you spin it. So this one just makes it more convenient because it goes both directions. Now remember, I want to turn it backwards because I want to keep the oil in here. And I want to make sure there's not any, I'm not yanking on this thing very hard. See, I'm just turning a little bit. Nothing too hard. That's what you want to see, nice even pressure. And you look at your bores in here as you go around. Pistons come up, go down evenly. You can see how the oil's at the top of the spigot up there. Remember I told you it's going to lube the whole cylinder. And it is. So now I take it, I wipe off the excess. You don't need the excess up in here. All it does is get on top of the plug and cause problems. Now you can see the high spots on the rings. See how they don't contact the cylinder all the way around? Because the rings aren't broken in. So you can see how uneven that is. You only got a couple of high spots, lots of low spots. You only got about 20% contact with those rings. That's why you have to break the rings in. So you're spinning with your hand right here, no big deal. As long as you keep it going backwards, it's good. You know, I like to stop when I've got both of them up like that. That way it keeps any contamination from getting into your motor. Now this one I don't have the heads done yet, so this is all I got done on it so far. So we got that in. Now I got to work on the distributor, but I'm going to work on that tonight. At some point we're going to drop this thing in the motor. I want to drop this in before I put the heads on it. See how the cylinder's cut away right here? See how it matches the distributor? Goes right in, see? Now when you got the heads on here, they have fins right up on top here. You can't just pull this thing in and out. So you want to get this done before you put the heads on it. You can still take the distributor in and out, but you have to take it, disassemble it. The top and the base has to come apart. So this is an automatic advance distributor. You have to take these 2 nuts off, and then individually each piece will go in. But right now, without the heads on it, makes it real easy to do it. So this just goes down there like that. Get some piece of silicone hanging down there, whatever that is. Yeah, somebody put silicone on it. So he's got blue silicone all over the place. That shit just never goes away. So it doesn't dissipate, it just rolls around, doesn't break up, stays, rolls up, unscrews, see now it's back loose again. And it does that inside your motor, it just doesn't ever go away. That sealer I use, it breaks up and goes away. That's why I don't like silicone. So this is the earlier distributor. You have to put it in with the with the 2 bolts in here. So it has to be done correctly. You have to put it in exactly where it's supposed to go. So we'll show how to time this later. Right now, I'm not sure where we're at. I think the rear cylinder's on top dead center right now because these look like they're all the way down. This one looks like it might be up, so I'll have to figure out which rotation we're on, but I'll leave it in a hole right now so it keeps the dirt from going in there. I like keeping my stuff as clean as I can, obviously. So this is ready to go back in the bike, which is over there. So before we can work on the bike, or before I put the motor in the bike, I got to go ahead and work on that front end up there. So it'll be tomorrow's project. So it's almost 10 o'clock. Yeah. Early night. We'll go home anyway. So this is the front wheel. We got to take this front wheel and brake apart and get it all cleaned up. And we'll swap the wheel out for a Timken style star hub instead of this one. I'm not going to rebuild the fork. The customer didn't want me to do extra work, so we're not going to. So, but I got to get this stuff all cleaned up, make sure it all works, and put new cables up there if I have to, or whatever it takes. Then I go ahead and put the motor in the frame. It's ready to go in right now. Boom, pop it in. Get all this stuff lined up. Get the motor mounts tightened down. Have to take the primary off to get to the back bolt here. Once you get the motor tightened up, and you put the primer back on it, put it all together. So, sounds quick and simple and easy. In the real world, it takes more time. There you go. Here's the wheel waiting to go on there. Timken bearing star hub. See, it's got Timken bearings in there. So that's for long distance reliability. So that's what the customer wanted. So we're going to do it. So that's it for the night. So the motor is good to go, and we'll be back later.